What's going on, guys? It's Cordelephant here, and I've decided to make an updated tutorial on how to rip game files from Wizard101 because the last one I did is pretty outdated and I got some things incorrect. So I'm making an updated version that I know is a working process. So the programs we're going to need for this one are right here. We have NinjaRipper, still the same program I used for the first tutorial. We have 3ds Max 2019. You can use any edition of 3ds Max, I believe, as long as it supports the NinjaRipper plugin that we're also going to need. I'm going to put download links in the description. So go down there to download all these required programs. We're also going to do a bit of Blender, but you're only going to need that if you're actually going to be tweaking the skeleton a little. For like dynamic bones or lip syncing, if you want any of those on your avatar. We're going to be not only ripping game files from Wiz, but we're going to be using those to make a VRChat avatar. So it's pretty much going to be in 2 parts of this tutorial. Follow the first one if you're just interested in ripping game files from Wiz, and the second one will be on a little bit of how I personally go through and make the player models from Wiz into VRChat avatars. And to do that, we're also going to need the version of Unity that VRChat is currently going off of. So let's get started. Alright, so what we're going to do is, after you're done installing all of the required programs, we're going to go ahead and launch up NinjaRipper. And so, yeah, so the first thing you're going to want to do is select the target file. In the first tutorial I did, which is outdated, and I got this incorrect, admittedly, is the first thing I did was you went to your install directory for Wiz, which would be in program data, not program files, but program data. It would be in your C drive probably, but I installed it to my D drive. It's a different drive that I use for storage. So you go in program data, KingsL Entertainment, and you're going to go in Wizard101. And the first thing I did in the first tutorial was target that, and that is incorrect. That is going to launch up like the login menu thing. That's what that executable is for. And so what the new thing, what you have to do is actually go into the bin and go in graphical client. This is the executable that you want NinjaRipper to be targeting, not the other one. This one is actually the client of the game that renders all the models. So you're going to target that. You want to set this to the same thing as the first tutorial, D3D9 wrapper, because it's on DirectX 9. You don't have to change that. That'll be like automatic. It's pretty much the same thing as that. Output directory is where you want to rip the game files to and save them to after they're ripped. So pretty much point this to wherever you want. I'm going to do my storage drive, blah, 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 blah. Game Wizard101 rip stuff. NinjaRipper rips. I'm going to make a new one under here and name it new Corwin rip, because I'm gonna rip the updated version, the updated graphics version of my character with the new face. So that's what I'll be doing for this tutorial. So now that we have that added, we should be all good. So this is the hotkey that you're going to use later on. I have it set to F10. You can set it to whatever you want of these options, I guess, that it gives you. So I have it set to F10. So when we're in game, I can press F10, and that is the hotkey. It will just do the rip. It'll perform it. So obviously you press run, and it'll bring up the application, and you'll have to log in, and then let's see where we go from there. Alright, after you've logged in, it should just bring up the game just as usual. So just get past all of this stuff. I'm gonna turn this stuff up just a little. Okay. So now you're gonna go on get on the character that you're gonna rip, or if it's like an NPC or something, obviously just go to them. But the smaller the area you're in, the better, because you want this program to rip the least amount of things at a time as you can, because it will literally rip everything on the screen, everything in the area that you have loaded. So if I did it here, it would rip space. It would rip. Yeah, this is a very large area. It would rip all these guys down here. Actually, NinjaRipper has a limit on the amount of models that it will rip at once. So, and I think it's around 1,300, in my experience at least. It's a little further than 1,300, and then it'll stop. And it's pretty much random which models it loads first. I think like the bigger the size of the model, so it would probably rip this skybox first, and then probably like the landscape, and then like the people. But yeah, so what we're gonna be doing is I'm gonna go to my Arcanum apartment, since that's this pretty small area. It's around maybe 100 to 150 models, and you'll see what I mean by that in a moment. Alright, so here we are. So it's gonna rip all of this furniture, this wand, the bank, the particle effects, the skybox. I think this skybox is special in Wiz. This is actually comprised of multiple skyboxes overlaid upon each other to give like that's its own thing, and the smoke traveling around. It's pretty cool, the way they animated it like this. But anyway, so make sure you have all your stuff on that you want your avatar to be wearing. And I'm gonna take my pet off just because I can. It'll probably still rip this guy, but whatever. So once you're good and ready, press F10 or whatever you set it to, and it will freeze for just a second or more, depending on your processor and hardware. But here we go. And we're back. There we go. See, it was just 2 seconds, but now we can go ahead and quit out now and close that. And close out of NinjaRipper if you'd like. But if you click the browse button, what this does is opens the folder that you set it to rip it to. So that's a little shortcut, and I'll drag it over here. So we can exit that now. Now we have this open, and this is the folder containing the files that we ripped. We can go in here. It'll do 2 folders. What NinjaRipper likes to do is make 2 folders, one for the ripped files and then one for the log. For some reason, it puts the log of the rip actually in a separate folder. So one of these is probably going to be just the log, yeah. So we can delete that since it's useless. Now this one, yeah, all the log contains is like whatever. Lots of information. So these are the models, the ripped files, and yeah, wow, 211. I was off a bit. I said there'd be 150. And then these are the textures. It saves the textures in DDS format. If you wanted to do some texture editing, you can. There's a DDS plugin by NVIDIA you can have for Photoshop CS6. Where is mine? Yeah, Photoshop CS6 if you wanted to do that. Let me know if you have trouble with that, or if you want me to do like a little side tutorial for that. But I'm not going to be doing that much here. So now is when you want to start up 3ds Max 2019. So really quickly, I'm going to show you also how to install the NinjaRipper importer plugin for 3ds Max, because it's kind of unclear, I guess. So once you have it right here downloaded, you're going to get this. You also need WinRAR if you don't have that yet. WinRAR to unpack the file here that the importer is going to be in. But you're going to go in here, and this is what you're going to have. And these are the files for the importer. So what you want to do is find your install directory for 3ds Max, which should be in Program Files, Autodesk, 3ds Max 2019, or whatever edition you have. Scroll down to the folder called Scripts. Scripts, right here. Now, I made a new folder called NinjaRipper Importer, and just literally just dragged them into this folder, and they're good and installed. So yeah, go ahead and do that. So now in here, once you boot up 3ds Max, you're going to want to go to the top tab where it says scripting and go to run script. And you're going to want to point it to where you dragged it in. It'll be in, you know, as I said, program files, Autodesk 2019 scripts, NinjaRipper importer, and then you're going to select the actual script here, the script file called NinjaRipper import. And it's going to open this window right here. This is an updated importer. It's different than the one I showed in the first tutorial. So you're going to go... So this one's capable of not only importing more than one model at a time, but you can like specify which models in the folder structure. So if you go group, which is in my opinion the best option, here's group, and then you go to the folder structure on where the ripped files are at. So in mine, it's going to be in ripped stuff. Unicorn with Ripper, yeah, frame 0. And just select that folder. That's the folder we're going to put there. Now, the file numbers, since we want to actually import the entire scene at a time, which I find is the easiest way, and then just deleting what you don't need after you've imported the entire scene, go to the folder structure. And so for the numbers, put 0000 through whatever the last mesh is. So we're going to way down. So this, it has 0211. And that's how many models we're going to import at one time. And it's fairly quickly. You might think it's going to take its time importing these, but it's fairly quick, actually. And for this, I also recommend UV scale, set that to 1. Also enable flip UV vertical. What this does is it flips the texture maps and that kind of thing for the models. If you don't do that, they'll get like backwards. So I always do that. I would say scale them down to 1. They're going to be gigantic if you put scale 100. And then rotate Y, just put that 0. We don't want any rotation. And these are the best settings that I have found. And then you go ahead and click import, and it will show a progress bar right here for importing everything nicely there. Alright, sometimes it does take its time. Okay, now we're moving quickly. You can see all the models that it's generating right now, just right here. Look at the number on the top, that's the progress. So, boom. We're done. Alright. Also, some things are going to be completely black. What you want to do is go up here where it says default shading in the render window. Change that to flat color. And that is the shader that the game actually uses, I believe, since everything's like a cartoony kind of art style. So this is the Arcanum apartment. See what I mean by the different skyboxes? This is very clearly the aura around like the black hole thing. We don't want any of that, so we're going to delete those. Many skyboxes here for like the animated swirling effects. See, look at this. It's the black hole itself. Ooh. Oh no, this is the black hole itself. Actually, it went way down here, but this is like what is around it. You know. Delete that. That's the floor, and looks like parts of the apartment. We can delete those. So if you right click and go home, it'll go back to the little grid. For some reason, this one, none of them liked the grid very much. They all went way to the side. Or did we delete home? Because I know a lot of models are supposed to spawn on the home. Let's Control Z. Control Z undo. Whatever we... Yeah. Okay, so that is the home. This is what ripped off to the side. We can delete that. Ha! That's funny. Okay, so... yeah, this is our character model right here. Now you know what you're thinking. Why didn't my dye shop, stuff rip with it, and why doesn't he have a face? That's because in Wiz, that kind of stuff is categorized as like an alpha map. Or like a variation. And you can do that in the material editor. I'll show you how in just a second here. I'm going to clean up my scene. Just keep going. It's like carving marble. Just got to get rid of everything else that you don't need. All right. Boom, 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 boom. All right. We've somehow managed to delete his foot. Ah, the books. That's weird. All right, and then it also rips UI stuff as well. UI elements, so like name tags and icons. All right. Here we are. Just our character here. Shoot, where's his staff? I kind of want that. We'll find it later. So for right now, what I was talking about earlier, you can close the importer if you'd like, if you're done importing. So what I was talking about earlier is the material editor that we're going to use to bring his face back and the coloration of his gear. Press M by default. That is the hotkey that will bring this guy up. And we can go ahead and use this tool, pick material from object. It'll be like the little dripper icon. And highlight his face first. We're going to do his face. Go ahead and... So this is the way... See, it overlays this alpha kind of thing. It'll cut out all the black of this and just... So it's the eye and the lips and the actual face texture itself, excuse me. And then it'll put it on top of this. And the reason we can only see this is because 3ds Max doesn't really know what to do with this information. It just imported it. So what we have to do, what I do anyway, is I go to Photoshop and I actually cut this out myself and put it on this and then replace this guy. So it's all one layer. Because that's the simplest solution in my opinion. So let's go ahead and do that. I will hop over to Photoshop. Alright, we are in Photoshop. So you're going to need a plugin called, what is it called? NVIDIA Tools. This allows you to open and edit and save as DDS files with Photoshop CS6. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and open, and you're going to need to know which texture to open. And the way you can do that is go in the material editor back here. It is texture 75 and 75.1. So we will go down, make sure yeah, this is a completely wrong folder here. Okay, this is where our new rip is. So 75, right? What is it? Yeah. Texture 75 and 75.1. Just have both of those open. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So for this one, we can, there's two methods that I can do. I can go select color range and go pitch black and set the fuzziness to a value that's around 0. I'm gonna say 6. And we can remove the lock on the layer. Boom. Now it's just the face. But it's kind of rough. You know what I mean? It's like all this kind of stayed. This border around it. It's gonna look weird, like eyeliner or something when we put it on our avatar. So I don't like using select color range. What I do like to do is trace it myself with the pen tool, and I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead because that's uninteresting and kind of off track of this tutorial. So alright, now that I have them all neatly cut out, which if you are doing it like I am and being like a perfectionist, it helps if you have a screenshot of your character just laying around, so you can kind of tell, because the shape can be hard to make out. I had to do this eyebrow like in complete darkness, and I was like, is it supposed to be like, I don't know, but yeah, this kind of helped. Anyway, once you have it like this, you may think of just dragging it this way over here, but actually the texture is kind of aligned improperly and you'd have to shrink it down to do that. So I suggest instead bring this one to the other side and enlarge it. It's going to be easier because it's going to lock in like that. You see? And you just make it a square. Perfect square. Apply changes. It'll soften it up a little. It'll be higher res as well, so that's a good thing. Drag these on top of that, and it's perfect. Perfecto. Now, skin color is another thing. If it's a variation of this, you can just highlight the skin layer and do hue saturation. It's gonna screw with that. However you wanna have that, but to me that looks good. That looks fine. Also, I mean, you can do other changes as well. Retexturing. You can soften things up a little if you wanted, but this looks fine to me. Zooming out, and yeah, that looks fine. So what you're going to want to do is save as DDS, and we're going to go 75. We're going to make a new one, actually. So see, this one's 75.1. We're going to do 75.2. Why not? So it's a variation of 75 that we have made. And if you have the same plugin as me, you're going to get this screen. I save it as interpolated alpha if it has an alpha channel, if you're doing transparency. But with this, we're not doing transparency, so I would do explicit alpha, which, I don't know. It's different. It's a smaller file size, I believe. So that's fine. So now go back to 3ds Max, and we're going to change this guy right here. Double click on that. We're going to change this to the new texture we've made. So we're going to go 75, and we're going to find 75 too. And now our face is there. And it looks okay. Looks different for some reason. I don't know. Can't quite put my finger on it, but it looks different. Maybe it's the eyes. But like the shadow around the eye. I don't know. Whatever, that's good enough for this tutorial. I'm kind of a perfectionist in this kind of stuff, so that's whatever. So now next, since we're done with that, we can go ahead and remove it from the material editor for now. If we wanted to come back, we can just re-select it with the select from material tool. But now what we're going to do is the hat. So we have one that is the base hat. That is what's showing up right now. That's like the default, the backdrop that they'll slap on everything. This is the coloration of the hat that we have chosen, which is black and red. So that's the dye layer from the dye shop, and this is, since we have symbol gear, this is actually the fire design that goes on the cap. So what we're going to need to do is a similar process to the face, where we'll combine all those layers, and I'll just do that off screen since it's irrelevant kind of to the big picture of this tutorial. Just going to want to do that for all gear. It's going to be pretty similar across the board here, just texture editing. So we can do that. No, not all that. Jesus. Control A. Select everything. I meant to do this. And we're also going to do the boots. Yeah, same thing across the board. So I'm going to do that, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so while doing some texture editing, I realized that the cufflinks around the wrist and the waistline here and the end of the cape have transparency. So how transparency is going to have to work is what you do is you cut it out. So it was white, just white in the texture right here and the transparent parts that you can see here. And what I ended up doing was just cutting that out, and what you want to do is make a new layer on the bottom, color it solid black, and we'll just paint bucket, boom, so we have a solid black layer. Now you're going to notice that that's kind of weird. Why do I even have that layer there? That's strange. Anyway, you notice that the ends are still white here. We don't really have to, but we can kind of smudge and get rid of. Actually, you know what? We don't even have to. When we get in Unity, we can cut it off a little, like a few pixels before the actual end, and it'll cut off all that white crap out. And now what we want to do is select all of the. Let's let's merge that into one image there. So you're going to have the back one is black, and this one we're going to do blending options, color overlay, temporarily, and make everything white. And then we want to go to channels. This is what we're going to mess with, this alpha channel here. That controls transparency. Basically, the game engine's going to read that alpha channel of this texture, and where the alpha channel is white, it's going to show 100%, and where it is black, it will treat it as transparent. So what we want to do is delete the old alpha channel that's all white. And we want to get this blue one, duplicate it, and name the duplicate alpha 1. Alpha space 1. I apologize. Name it exactly like this too. It's very sensitive. So capital A alpha space 1. Now we're going to do that, and we're going to get rid of the color overlay. We're going to get rid of that so it's nice and visible again. The alpha channel is going to stay that way because the alpha channel is like the it doesn't change with the vanilla image. So, and then we can actually do this color as white now if we'd like, so it blends in with the stuff around, so we don't have like even more crap around our edges. It shouldn't matter in the end, but like I said, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to this kind of stuff. So do that. Now we go save as DDS, and we've already saved one. Yeah, I'm gonna overwrite that. Now, since we do have transparency going on, I suggest going with the interpolated alpha save option in the DDS plugin. So we're gonna do that. It's gonna save it like that. Now, what we're gonna do for the chest is set it to the new one here instead of what it is right here. I'm gonna set it to 90 _3. Yep. And we have to do that for each of these, unfortunately. So let's now delete that. Scroll up to get out of the way of the boots. So actually, might as well do this now. But what I was gonna do earlier, later on, I mean, what I was gonna do later on is merge everything together. So we're gonna merge, not everything, not yet, but we're gonna merge all the robe models together. So all you have to do is make sure one's selected and go right here under the modify tab, and then have the editable mesh selected. Christ. And have the editable mesh selected. We want to use the attach button. We want to attach it to that one. Press OK. That one. Oh. Attach it to that one as well. Attach it to that. To that. And to the cape. I think there's going to be more parts on the back of him as well. Yeah, shoulder. Is that part? No. So I want to attach it there. Here. And over there. And then to make sure there's no other parts of the robe, we can actually go in the list. That's the hat. Robe. Boot. Boot. Head. Or no, hair. Hand, arm, fingers and face, and arm. Yeah, so the robe is all one mesh, and it's right here. So now we can actually go to the material editor and make sure we have some room. And select the robe. It'll pop up everything that's a part of that all at once. Okay, there we go. God. Alright, now we're going to change all of these to what they are. So 90 _3. It sucks that we have to do them all about one by one, but just the way it is. Alrighty. We are good. Yeah, so it's not going to be transparent quite yet because 3ds Max isn't treated to render the texture that way, but Unity will, depending on what shader we give the material, which I'll give you some shaders to use in a bit, it will render them transparent. It's just 3ds Max is a stubborn one. So there's the boots down here. We're gonna get rid of all of this for the robe because we're done with it. All right. onto the boots. I'm going to speed through that, and then we'll get to making a VRChat avatar. Hi guys, outfit change, I know. It's like 2 weeks later. So one more thing after you're done with your texture editing, what you're going to want to do is attach everything together so that it is one mesh and not like, what is this, like 9 of them. So to do that, we just select one, probably the top one is easiest. And we go, usually we would use the attach tool, yeah. So the attach tool under edit geometry in the modifier tab. So you want to just attach everything together, and it's kind of easier if you do this way in the list. That way you don't have to actually physically pick everything. But yeah, okay, it's one mesh now. And you don't have to do this, but I like to because it lowers the performance hit that the model's going to have to users, including yourself, is that you can apply an editable poly instead of editable mesh. And this will allow you to do this. You select vertexes, and it'll show every vertex on the thing. Just Control A, just select all of them. And then we can go down here to weld, and we can go here. And it will show this little pop-up thing. It says before, this is the amount of vertices, 1052, and after it's going to be 597. So what this tool does is, this is the threshold. What this tool will allow you to do is any vertices that are really, really, really close to, together, and you can adjust the closeness amount by the threshold. So it'll grab vertices farther and farther apart the higher the number is here, and it will combine them. So basically what happened is, because since everything is like 9 different models instead of all one before we combined them, there's going to be duplicate vertices in the same exact point of space, but they're still registered as 2 vertices. And the least amount of vertices your game has to render, the more frames per second you're going to have, the better the performance. So before we had 1052 vertices, after welding 0.1, which is just duplicates basically, we're going to have 597. And you can see if I raise the number, it'll deep fry the hell out of our model. But yeah, we just 0.1, and that'll lower it down. And it looks exactly the same, because all we did was combine duplicate vertices. So it looks exactly the same, but it's going to have better performance. Okay, so after we're done there, we can go ahead and export it as our first unrigged FBX model. So I actually have a folder for where I save these VRChat possible stuff. Unrigged avatars. New Corwin Darkstone 01, because I had one before, but it wasn't like after the Wizard City update, so my face was different. So that's what I'm going to save mine as. And once you have that, we can actually quit 3ds Max for now. That was the boots that I was working on. And now we're going to use a website to actually make a rig of a model. I just launched Chrome and it's being okay. We're going to use a website to actually make the skeleton of our model and rig it to it. So it's called Mixamo.com. Okay, so once you launch up the website, this is the model I was working with before. You might recognize it. It's Merle Ambrose. You're going to come at the screen. Go ahead and register for an account, or if you have an Adobe account, they're associated with Adobe. Just log in. If not, it's free. So once you're done making an account or whatever, you're going to come to this screen, upload character, and it'll show all the supported model file types right there. You can press that button, pick the model from our folder structure that we just made, new Corwin Darkstone 01, and then it will load it up. It's fairly quick, actually, which is good. So now it'll give me these points, and we just plop these points on our avatar where they should go. So the chin is your chin right there, the blue ones. Green are your wrists. And you kind of want to put those where the actual joint of the avatar is going to be. So right on the wrist there. Elbows, I believe, are somewhere in here. Knees, of course, are like right here, where they kind of like put them there. Groin, that's right there. Okay, and just do standard skeleton, and it'll like kind of automatically recognize the fingers of the avatar. For this one, it's kind of for the player models of Wiz, it's gonna be sort of just a brick for your 4 fingers and then your thumb. The newer NPCs, they actually have separate fingers, like Arcanum NPCs and stuff like that. But since we're just doing a player character, it's probably just going to be like one bone that's all of the fingers right there. So it'll auto rig it for you. Okay, there it is. There we go. Look, he's moving smooth, my dude. He's moving good. Good stuff. Yeah, proceed with this new character. The previous character. They're talking about Merle Ambrose. They're like, wait, Merle Ambrose. Yeah, whatever. I haven't finished, actually. So. Alright, and there's our character. The materials are not going to show up because all we did was upload the model itself to this site, not the textures. So, hip-hop dancing. See him doing some... Yeah, man. So the cape is probably painted with the legs right now. Yes, see when you move your feet, the cape kind of follows. Which, in the game, it is kind of like that on some animations and some mounts and stuff like that. Yeah, good stuff. Alright, so when you're done with the animation, make sure to delete it, or else when you download it, it will attach the animation to the avatar, and you do not want that. That's something you set up completely in Unity. So make sure there's no animations playing, and go ahead and download it. And you're going to hit FBX for Unity on the left drop down, and we're going to want T-pose. So it will do that, and we have our new thing here. Now I'm going to move it from the downloads folder into... into my rigged avatars, and I'm gonna rename it as well. So they just saved it as what the name was to begin with. I'm gonna go post Mixamo. That is raw, just straight out of Mixamo. Like there it is. Now the next part, I'm gonna actually take this new rigged avatar that we got from Mixamo into Blender, and I'm gonna go ahead and tweak the rigging. So we'll load up Blender, import. I'm done. FBX, and we'll point it to where it is. Rigged avatars, post Mixamo, import FBX. So it's gonna do that. Go ahead and delete the stupid cube that it always starts with. Oh yeah, I forget. The controls are completely different than 3ds Max, and it's like a similar interface. So I'm always trying to use 3ds Max's controls with Blender, and it does not work ever. So we can actually go. Texture paint, and we can, yeah. So it did load in our UV maps and stuff like that out of the rip. So what that means is all the textures are going to be in the correct place on the model. So that's good. So what I'm going to actually do is tweak the rigging and make it so that the cape, instead of being rigged to move to the feet, will be a dynamic bone with physics all by itself. And so it's actually a little complicated, but not too complicated to do. So here we go. So first, it's to make it easier to see the rigging, we can go on to our armature, to the actual skeleton itself, and go over here to this tab and go X-ray. That'll allow us to see the skeleton through the actual model of our avatar, and that's what we want because it's just better. So we can see what we're doing. So we can see what we're doing. Go to different ones here. I like stick. So we can see all the individual bones here and where they are. Next, we're going to check out the weight painting of each bone. That means how much influence and what influence over which parts that what bones have on the avatar. And that might sound really confusing, but it's really simple. So what we're going to do is go take the armature into pose mode and then select the avatar and get it into weight painting. Now, once we have it like this, we can actually right click and select the individual bones, and it'll show us what that bone has influence over. And the closer the color is to like red, the heavier the weight. So what that means is, see, this is the head bone. It has complete control over the head. So when we move this guy, the whole head's gonna move. And when we move the neck's gonna move. But since it's attached to the head bone, and the head bone is lower in the hierarchy, when we move this, it will also move the head because it's moving the head bone, and then the head bone's moving the head. And that's how kind of bones work, really. So, as you can see right now, yeah, the cape's red, and it's like completely controlled by the leg bone here. And same on this side, yeah, even more so, really. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to each one of these bones, and we're gonna paint with a weight of 0 to lower the influence it has over the cape. So we can do this, make sure you get both sides. And we're going to do this for each bone that actually has any influence over the cape. And you'll see the cape kind of start to move because it's not being held down by those bones anymore. Good stuff. Alright. Now just to test that, if we move this, oh, it still moves. It's still painted a little bit over here somewhere. Looks like. What the hell? Why is it doing that? Oh, maybe the foot has. No? That's strange. Well, just gonna have to figure it out. Okay, this one doesn't have influence over the cape. This one doesn't have influence over the cape. But this one looked like it did. Yeah, over that part. That's very strange. Maybe it's actually inside. I know there's 2 layers to this cape, actually, so if it is inside the 2, it's going to be kind of hard to paint that little frickin' corner that's microscopically in between these 2 layers. Oh, that's going to be a bitch. Okay. What the f... It's completely flat right here. I don't understand. Oh, okay. It looked like we hit the vertice because it moved. What? Someone's texting me. Okay. Okay. Alright, yeah, we got rid of the influence over that. So that's good. Now if we move this, does it move the cape at all? Yes, it does. So there's still kind of some... Are we moving the upper body too? Yeah, we are. So it's probably just because of this, really. It's a pretty tedious process, but it's fairly simple once you learn. Okay, so no influence over the bottom, no influence over the bottom, and influence over the bottom. That means we still... This bone's kind of painted to them still. So nothing has influence over the bottom of the cape. So if I drag the whole avatar, only the top comes with, which is good. So once you have it so that no bones have any influence over the part that you're going to make into a dynamic bone to react to physics, we're going to want to make some rigging of our own. So now what you're going to want to do is select the armature again, make sure it is in edit mode, and now we're going to start making the bones for the cape. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make 2 chains of bones, one for one side and one for the other. That way the cape has a kind of like flexicity and flow to it, so that should be good. I might even make 3 bones, but that might affect performance a little too much. I'll see. I'll do 2 first. So select the bone, select the end of the bone that it's going to be parented to. So from the shoulders, it's going to go down and kind of follow the cape there. So press E, which makes an extension of the bone, and we can kind of move the new point that we've made to where the first point ought to go. That looks good. And now, so press 5 on your numpad, and then I'll take it into orthographic, which is a different kind of perspective, a different like dimension, I guess you could say. So now that we have our character perfectly flat like this, we can adjust it, and it's kind of 2-dimensional sort of projection, and it's like it can be really mathematic. We can get exact measurements like this. So I want it to be kind of in the middle. Okay, that looks good. Now I can press 5 again, and it'll take it back into the 3rd dimension. Okay, now we're gonna press E again to make the next one. And I like to look at where the bends of the cape along the edges are and kind of put a bone where I see drastic changes. So probably one there, one down here. I see like a bend right there. One there. Down here. Oh my god, it put everything off to the side. So, okay. I'm gonna go over to that side. Perfect. And now it should actually let us do it. So, and this process is going to be a bit different for everyone depending on what kind of project you're working with. It's not going to be the same every time. That's why I'm kind of winging it a little with the commentary. Okay, so now we can adjust the other axis, which is sideways here, of each point. So this one is going to be a bit that way. This one's going to follow it all the way down. I don't want to mess with the hips while I'm doing this. Okay. Okay, that seems to follow the edge pretty good there. Maybe a little to the left up here. That's good. Now we can get out of that. Bring it back to the 3rd dimension. And the bone connecting this to the shoulder, we don't necessarily need it. So I'm going to go delete key and go delete bone. We can actually rename all of our bones that we've made. So if you click names, it's going to extend each one based off the name of the bone that it's parented from. So that it's extended from. So this one's going to be left shoulder 04, but really we can name it, go back and name it left cape 01. No, not vape. left cape 01. Alright, so once we've named it all, it should look nice and neat now. We got left cape, and we got right cape. Alright, let's take this mother into pose mode. And now, the cape does not move all dumb. The bones do not move all dumb when we T-pose, which is good. It's a good sign, very good sign. So since we're in pose mode for our armature, we're going to go back here, and we're going to go weight paint. Now it'll let us do this. So if there's no painting at all for the bones selected, it's going to make everything purple for some reason. And so what we want to do is start weight painting. We're going to go 0.3, sounds like a good number. Instead of, so 1.0 is 100% control. That's going to paint solid red. 3 is going to paint like probably like a yellowish green or something. Blue, yeah. Barely different than the shade of blue. I don't want to paint the arm. No. Okay, we actually got to Control Z that, so we know there's nothing. Okay. So we're just going to paint the cape. Actually, let's do one chain at a time here, and not do sides at a time. Probably going to be easier. We can raise the number of it as we go down. Good stuff. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Right on. Since we have that now, we can go back into our armature and kind of play with it and make sure the weight looks up to par. So go into pose mode, and we can kind of get these guys. I said pose mode. That's looking pretty good. Gonna rotate it this way. That way, yep. What about the other side? So if we do this, back into fucking pose mode and stay there, you dumbass. Okay. So yeah, it's looking quite nice. I like the movement. Right on. So we have the cape bones rigged now. There's not much else wrong with this this rig. Mixamo did everything pretty good. It's looking good. So we can go ahead and export it now as a new FBX in rigged avatars. And we can name it something like Mixamo dynamic bones. Export, and it's good. It's exported. Now, I am gonna save. Boom. Now we're done with Blender. As you can see, I googled the problem, but could find no reason why the parenting of that bone was changing to other bones. Jesus, I need a haircut. Okay. Now, we're going to actually go into Unity now. And we're going to start making our VRChat avatar out of our model that we have finished tweaking the rigging of. So this is the fun part. Alright, once we're in here, we're going to go New. And we're going to go Stitchant. Alright. Boom. Alright, Unity is now booted up. Import package, custom package, and we're going to import our VRC SDK, source development kit for VRChat. The newest version of, as of right now, is this one right here, so I'm going to do that. And it's going to pop up a little window, go everything, all, select all, and import. It's going to import everything, so that's going to take a moment. I will skip ahead again. Alright, the SDK is now imported, as you can see right here, and up here. So now we're going to import a new package also. We're going to need shaders for the material of the object. A good one is no overlay shaders. I'll put some links in the description for these as well. We want that, and we want cubed shaders is another good one. I'm probably just going to use one, but I'll import both of them just so I can choose dynamically. Another thing that I need is the dynamic bones one. So I'm going to import all of those, and I'll skip ahead to when I'm done doing that. Alright, it's looking like everything's imported. So now we're going to go ahead and add our asset, our custom asset that is going to be our model. VRChat possible stuff, rigged avatars. We're going to go post Mixamo dynamic bones, the new one we made in Blender with the tweaked stuff. Now we're going to go here, we're going to zero it out on the location so it's in the center of the render window. I'm going to move this out of the way as well. Now that we have that, we can press F and it'll adjust the camera to be centered on us. Alright, now that we're in Unity, why are we transparent? What the hell? I don't know. We'll see where this goes. So we're going to go in our imported avatar down here in the assets window, and we're going to pick one of these. I know there's going to be a ton of them, but of the 7s we only need one of the texture 0075. And we're going to go extract prefab, and we're actually before that, let's set up our folder structure. So I like to keep things organized. New Corman Darkstone, and we're going to drag this in there. Just so we're nice and organized. Now we're going to create a folder called Materials. Another folder called Textures. So in the texture ones, we want to... I'll do materials first. So there's going to be a bunch of these. A bunch of the texture 7 5s, as you can see right here in the top. There's a bunch of duplicates. All we need is one of each. So we're going to go extract from prefab. We're going to put it in our materials folder. Now onto texture 79. Extract from prefab. Same deal. Now 88. Extract from prefab. Materials. Drop it in there. 88, 90. A new one. Extract from prefab. Materials. Drop it in. 90. Already did that one. 99. Extract from prefab. Materials. Drop it in there. Okay, so now each one of these is actually a different one. 7, 5, 7, 9, 8, 8, 90, 99. Now, we need textures. The textures that these materials that the model uses go with. So in the original folder of the rip that we ripped it from, which mine's going to be in NinjaRipper rips, new Corbin rip, and it's going to be the top one, I think. Yeah, frames. Boom. In the original ripped structure, that's where the textures are going to be located. We need to drag each one of these. So 7.5 is the texture for the hands and the face. 7.9. We need 8.8, 90, and 99. So each one of those. All right, we still have selected each one of those. We're going to drag them into our textures folder. And now they're each going to be here. Now for the materials, we're going to have to associate them with the correct texture. So this one's 7.5. We're going to type in 7.5 in the search field associated with 7.5. 7.9. Don't worry about the model quite yet. We're just creating the materials. 88. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. 90. 99. Boom. Okay, now we have all our materials set up. Now we need to give it the correct shader. And I've decided I'm going to use the no-no shaders since they are double-sided. And I'm seeing that the hair is kind of inside out. So we're seeing the inside of the hair, not the outside. So as we look in, it's actually transparent if its outside is facing us, which is kind of strange. So what we want to do is go up here where it says shader, make sure you have the material selected, of course, and go to no. We're going to go tune opaque. And we're gonna, so tune contrast is the slider right here that controls like the shadow lines. I'm going to set that to 0 because I don't really like it. Now we're going to mess with 79. Tune shader, make sure it kind of, yeah, okay, so that did the trick. Now the hair looks like it's supposed to. Good stuff. So now on this one, since we know 75 is going to be the texture for the face and the hands, we're going to actually drag it and apply it to all of the parts on the avatar that it's supposed to be on. And that looks pretty good. So 79 is already on the hair, and that's the only thing that's on, so that's good. Now we're going to, for 88, we're going to add the same shader, opaque, tune contrast 0. And so since this one I know is the boots, and drag it to the other boot. It was on one boot, but we're gonna need it on 2. So now it's on both of them. And I can edit it a little. You can see the shadows. Yeah, still like 0 for that. We're gonna make all the textures up here full bright. Change like the brightness and kind of the hue of the texture, but I like it full bright, so it's just what it's supposed to be. Change that on these as well. Make it nice and vibrant. And it's not always going to look this bright in game, of course, because the lighting of the world will actually change it a little bit. So now we're going to go 90. Same shader. I'm going to go same changes, full bright and no shadows. I'm going to apply this to every piece of the robe. As you can see, our transparency is actually working around the edges because we messed with the alpha map. It wasn't showing up in Blender or 3ds Max, but Unity does render transparency of materials, so that looks pretty good. Put it back on to those guys. As well as up here, I think there should be something. No. Oh, it's just bent like that. That's fine. Whatever. Put it on the cufflinks, and now they're nice and transparent as well, which looks nice. Put it on his legs as well. Very nice. Looking good. Now that we have all our material and textures in place, the next thing that I'm going to do is actually set it up for use in VRChat. So in order to do that, target the original avatar in your assets section, the original avatar's asset. We're going to go to rig. We're going to go to animation type, set it to humanoid. And now we're going to apply. And now it's officially a humanoid. It's recognizing it as a humanoid rig. Now we're going to go configure. Save changes. It's going to ask us to save a scene file, so it'll remember all of this stuff. So I'm just gonna name it scene 01. Now it's saved the scene, and now we're opening up the configuration section, which it'll screw up all the materials, but that's fine. All we care about right here is this skeleton. So, since it's a Mixamo skeleton, always remember, for the upper chest bone, set it to none. We're going to get rid of that, and then the chest bone up here, it's going to be spine 1. Set it to spine 2 instead. So now it'll be good for VRChat's skeleton. That's just a minor inconsistency between the two skeletons. Also for the hands, we're going to go through a special process of rigging this. So basically the summary is, when you have hands that are like this, and it's only the thumb and then 1 for the entire hand, which all, as I said before, all Wiz avatars are like that. We're going to actually take this, and then right beyond where the last one that it'll recognize, beyond that is one more invisible one because it's not being used. We're going to select the very end one here, and I'm going to drag it onto the middle fingers one right there. So it doesn't actually, it doesn't have any influence. We can move it, and it's not really going to change the model at all. So we're going to map it to the middle finger just because of, so in VRChat, if you have just one and then the thumb, it's not going to let you do full body tracking because it's stubborn. I'm not sure why, but we need at least 2 fingers over here, the index and the middle mapped. All we need is 1 middle finger mapped. And it'll recognize it as, okay, this is compatible with full body. I don't know why it doesn't let you do full body unless it's like that. So we're going to do the same thing for the other hand, the left hand. We're going to go select this one, the very end one, and we're going to drag it onto the middle finger. So left hand, and then just make sure all of the right hand stuff is right. Yeah, I did the right. Okay. So that looks good. For the mapping of bones, we're going to go boom, enforce T-pose, and it should be good. We go apply, and done. We're done assigning bones to which bones they will actually be in VRChat. So now, the very last thing we're going to do in here, I forgot to do the hat material. Wow, okay, let's do that real quick. Texture 99, shader, no, tune shader, opaque, full bright. I don't know how I didn't notice that earlier. Whatever. Okay. Now we're looking good. Looking snazzy. Now the next thing that we're going to do is dynamic bones. So we're going to go into our armature in the scene window, not the assets window. In the scene window now, we're going to go down our hips, up our spine, until we find the cape bones. So left shoulder. Oh yeah, because it's off the neck for some dumb reason. Where is it? Why is it still named left shoulder? We renamed it cape. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. I guess it kept the name for some reason. But these are our cape bones up here, and you can see that because in the actual window it shows where they are, so we can see that that they are in fact the cape bones. So this is actually the first cape bone, I believe. Let me actually make sure. Yeah, so that's the shoulder. This is the cape bone. We can actually rename that because left cape 1. And I'm going to rename him just as I did. I don't know why it changed it, but yeah, I'm going to rename all of them. Alright, now all of them are renamed. We got our cape, right and left. This one's the right, this one's the left. So now, whoa, what are you doing? Now, we're going to go to the very first bone in the left cape structure and add a component called dynamic bone. This comes from, of course, the dynamic bone asset that we imported earlier. And what it allows us to do is adjust the bone to actually react to physics. So now in the root, we want it to be the first bone in the structure, that is itself. So drag that in, and it'll show us the bone as a line right down here. So it's quite nice. And now we're going to do the same thing for the right thing. Go right cape bone, so we're going to go dynamic bone, right cape 1, put in the root. So now when we have the spine selected, it'll show it's 2 dynamic bone chains right here, right alongside each other, right where we put them. So now if we press play and go back to scene and wiggle our avatar around a bit, you'll see that the cape will move, reacting to physics. It looks a little stupid right now, but we can actually fix it to look quite nice. Actually, it's going to be sticking out like that. Whatever. Okay. I probably should have, okay, in Blender, I probably should have gone pose mode and selected what the heck? Selected all of these. Fuck. Okay. Okay. Well. Okay. Probably should have done that and lowered it a bit. So what I mean by that is 3, we're going to rotate it down to be like right there. So it's in a nice resting position. And because of that, I'll have to re-export this once again and redo everything I just did in Unity. I'm gonna skip ahead. Okay, so pretty good learning experience. Since I did, end up exporting it like that, with the cape lowered like that in a nice resting position. I probably should have realized that earlier. But anyway, if you ever have to go back and re-export your avatar, you can actually keep the materials that you've already set up, and just kind of import new asset and redo it. But it's going to be right here. So we're gonna name this one O2, so we don't mix up the two. So this one's named 1. It's the old one. The 2 is gonna be the new one. So 0, 0, 0. Scale was 0.49. I remember that. Okay. Now I can take the materials and apply them again. Let's speed run this. All right, we're good. I'm gonna press play and sample it real quick so that I can make sure that the cape is. Why is it 01? I put in 02. Speed run again.
Don't be lazy 'cause I'm burning for you. It's like a hot sensation. Got this power that is taking me out. Yes, I'm gonna pleasure you. Ready now, ready go. Gonna take my car, gonna see me. Gonna drive along till I get.
Okay. All right, now. Jesus Christ, no. Get rid of the whole thing. Okay. Now our cape is actually nice. It goes through our body, but we can fix that later very easily with dynamic bone colliders. Cool. All right. We can do some editing to the physics of the cape actually as well, if we really wanted. So we can actually mess with the numbers in here. I'm not going to rename it again. That's freaking tedious. And last time I did that, it just transformed it into the last avatar for some stupid reason. I had to go through 30,000 steps again. I'm angry. Can you tell? We can change dampening up, and that'll make the flowiness, I think, a little better. So let's go 0.285. Let's try that. That sounds like a good number. 0.285. Bang. Alright. Let's see how flowy it is. Not much more, honestly. Never make changes while you're in play mode. Always unplay before you make any changes, because the second you... Okay, so let me show you. So I'm gonna hit play, right? I'm in play mode. It's all good. Go back to scene. It's all good. Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna change dampening to that number. I'm gonna change this to the same thing, whatever. I'll move it again and see what it does. Oh wow. Yeah, real flowy now. Actually, that's really nice. But yeah, I'm probably gonna actually change it like that. That's pretty cool. It's like you turn around really quick. It's like, wow, what you doing? Whoa, what's going on over there? Wait, whoa. Yeah, that looks funny. Anyways, that looks pretty good. What number did I use? 286, 826, 824. Okay, so let's see. Okay, cool. Unplay it. It goes back to 285. None of the changes you make in play mode actually save once you exit play mode. So we're going to change it to 0.826 because it looked pretty dope. 0.826. So now it should be nice and flowy, just like it was that we were seeing. Oh, didn't want to do that. Change the whole thing. Yeah. So yeah, that looks pretty nice. Pretty nice. Now that we have our avatar good and rigged and ready to go. Actually, we don't, because I never did the skeleton for this one. So, I'm going to go to 2. Going to go to rig again. We'll speed run this again. Now that we're done with all that stuff, let's add an avatar descriptor. VRC avatar descriptor. You're going to add that onto a component in your scene on your avatar. So now, default animation set, we are a male character, so we'll set that to male. Did we do scale? That's right. Let's change the actual scale of the avatar similar to the average of the VRChat avatar again. Oh yeah, okay, I remember. We set it to 4:9. So let's set that to 4:9 again. Alright, looking good. So now that we've added a VRC avatar descriptor component, the viewpoint, which is where you're going to be looking out in-game from your avatar, is going to be represented by this little gray ball that you can move really shittily with some sliders over here. And you want it to be on eye level of your avatar so people know that you're seeing from your eyes and not from your chin. So we can mess with that from view position. Y is going to be up and down, so we're going to raise that a little bit. Probably 1 point, let's see. See what I mean? It's like very laggy. 7.2, that's perfect. That's eye level right there. Good stuff. And you want it kind of in front of your face a little bit. You don't want it in your face. Like, we can put it close to our nose right here, but while you're doing running animation, for example, your face moves just a little bit, so you might get like the back of your face going through the camera as you're running if you put the viewpoint too close to the face, which will be a problem because we have a double-sided texture here. So it'll be, you know, you'll have too much face in your face and you won't be able to see jack shit. You'll be like all the time. So we want it kind of outward because of that. So we're gonna change it to, that's a little too much, 2 3 2 3 2 2. That's fine. Yeah, just want it like out of the hood as well, and in front of anything that could possibly block it. So that looks pretty good to me. The avatar descriptor is all set up. Lip sync, we do not have lip sync because the player models of Wiz just kind of have a flat, you know, nothing for the mouth. Other avatars from Wiz, updated ones, do have mouths and facial animations, and you can add that. But for player characters, it's as simple as this. Once you're done with everything, you're going to go Shell Build Control Panel and the VRC SDK. Overall performance, good, because we don't have that many vertices because characters from Wiz are pretty low poly universally. So we're going to go build and publish. Very nice, very nice, very nice. And it's going to take a minute. Alright, and then it'll load up quite nice here. And we're going to go into game mode up here. Yes, now we can name our avatar. And this is the image that it's going to use to represent our avatar, so we want that to be kind of good. It's going to spawn in a camera right up down here. If you go back to scene tab, you can kind of move it around. And we can kind of make it a nice little picture. That's a little much. There we go. Kind of make it like tilted. Photography, yeah, I could do that. And we're gonna make the we can actually change the background to be a solid color down here, and we can set it to whatever color we want. I want mine to be like a deep dark red, reddish orangish, deep dark red. Good stuff. Nice, very nice. I'll tone down the rotation a bit. There we go. Now the thumbnail for the avatar is going to look pretty good. we want the face to be kind of centered, so because it is a perfect square. Very nice. So version, I think this would be version 8.0 because I made version 7.0 before. So yeah, that's before the okay, and I'm gonna give it a little description here. And if you did want to make your avatar public so that anyone in the world that sees you can kind of go like, oh, this guy's avatar is cool, and then they can take it and use it themselves, you can make it public. But I like to make Corwin private. I do have public avatars. I have Merle Ambrose. I did Undying Malice there, Morganth, a few others that I actually have as public avatars, and they're quite nice. But for this one, I like private, because Corwin is me. All right. And I'm gonna upload that, and it's gonna upload it to VRChat, and we'll check it out in game. And I'll fast forward to that. Alright, now we're in VR. Hi guys. We're gonna go into VRChat, and we will check out the avatar that we have just made. Alright, and this is my Wisteria Villa. I've updated it since last I showcased in my channel, so I'm gonna do that, so I'm talking in game, just in case any of my friends join me. Okay, so right now I am actually in my Ambrose avatar. This is the avatar that I just made before actually making this tutorial. It's pretty nice. It's got lip tracking, lip sync, so chimichanga. Nah. Ooh. Oh. Bop 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 bop. So the mouth works, and also I made a staff. So wah. That's pretty cool. Merle Ambrose, and the beard has physics as well. I can kind of touch the beard. And my hat also has physics, so kind of wiggles around a little. Okay, so that's this one. Let's see the new avatar. Corwin Darkstone 8.0. Hahaha. Here we are. Doesn't quite have lip tracking, but it's still, you know, the cape moves. Yeah, boy. Oh yeah, I forgot to add dynamic bone colliders to this. So it's sorta not really. It's going through our body when we back up. I'm gonna really quickly show you how to do that. All right, now we're back. Desktop mode. So we're gonna do some dynamic bone colliders. I'm gonna put them on my spine. So they're gonna be on here. Spine 1. Yeah, let's go spine 1. Spine 1. Actually, I'll just put them on spine. So dynamic bone collider. So this whole circle is a collider that we've added. We're gonna reduce the radius to be just our torso. Now over here we can kind of do the same thing we were doing in Blender, where we go into orthographic perspective, or orthographic view, and just wanna, that's moving it the wrong axis. I think it's Z. Yeah. So I'm gonna add 1 to the chest area. Let's do 0.3. Move it up a bit. No, not sideways, up. I'm sorry. Y is up. I'm gonna do it right here. Just about here. Move it a little bit back. So 0.5. 025. Yeah. So I want it to be lined up sort of with the bending of that right there. So that looks pretty nice. Let's go up above and down below. Yeah, that looks good for one collider. So I'm gonna add 2. Well, I'll do actually 2 more. We'll do legs, small ones on the legs, so it'll hit the legs and bounce off. I don't know if I should do one on his butt or not. The least amount of dynamic bone colliders that you can use, the better, because they really affect performance. And the show build control panel will let you know, like, hey, your avatar is going to be pretty performance heavy because you use like 30 million freaking dynamic bone colliders. So okay, I want it 0. Okay, negative 0.01. No. Okay, positive 0.01. Just a bit to the left. That's good. All right. Now we're gonna put another dynamic bone collider. We're gonna make it radius. What was the other one's radius? 5. Oh. There we go. Let's zero that out and go wide down. So we can, oh, that's really small. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong number. Okay. So 0.55. What the heck? What am I thinking? 0.55. Okay. So I wanted it half the size of that one. We're going to add it to each leg. So move it a little this way. A little bit more. A little down. I want it a little bigger than that. Probably 0.7, honestly. 7.5. 7.3. No, 7.5. Well, that's good. We'll move it down a bit, actually. I keep going Z for down. So the bone ends right here. But I know that actually the last bone is going to end down here. It just shows us the chain in Unity. But we know the bone ends somewhere down here, probably. So I'm going to put it on the knee. That way when I move my leg back, it'll kind of kick the cape if it's just resting there, which is nice. I'm going to move it a little bit forward. Actually, shit, I just thought of that. Since it's going to be on the knee, since it's going to be actually moving with the leg and not moving with the spine anymore, like that one was, I actually put the component on the right leg and not on the spine bone so that it's moving when the leg moves. Luckily I thought of that right now and not, later. We're going to do to the left just a little bit, 0.01 probably. Yeah. So it's nice and around the ball of the leg right there. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to move over to the left one. Let's remember the numbers. Center, okay, the radius is most important, 0.07. So let's move over to the left side. Okay. Center is 0.01. Okay, positive. Wrong direction again. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Move it up a bit, actually. Just so I can line it up with that. That's good enough. And we'll do the same thing to the right leg. Alright, that looks good. So these are going to kick the cape, the bottom of the cape up when we move our legs, and it won't go through our back or our butt. So now I'm going to go here, back to where the shoot hips. We're going to minimize those. Spine. Okay, so it's down spine. Okay, where the cape are, where the capes are, the English. And we're gonna go colliders, size 4, because there are 4 of them, and we're gonna add all the colliders that we use. So the spine, the one on our hips, and the 2 on our legs, left and right. We're gonna do the same thing for the right shoulder chain. Good stuff. So now it's going to collide with those colliders. It's going to actually recognize them on our 2 collision bone chains. Okie doke. Now you should be able to save and re-upload it to VRChat again.
Alright guys, thanks for stopping by and watching this tutorial. I hope I helped you, and I hope you have fun ripping all kinds of wizard stuff if you want. And you know, I might make a video soon showcasing worlds I'm actually working on. I got the Arcanum apartment pretty much done. I just gotta furnish it, and this thing's still a work in progress too. Anyways, I will see you guys later. You have a lovely rest of your day.